Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Helmets of the World. I'm Mike B, and today I'm going to be doing a video that I've already done, but I have since acquired an actually correct example versus the one I used for reenacting. So today we're going to be talking about the World War II era Romanian M39 steel helmet. So the one I did before was actually a World War II shell that was updated with a new Cold War era liner. And I have since acquired an original World War II example. So I'm just going to kind of show you if you've already seen that one, and you want to know the difference between the Cold War liner and this liner, keep watching. And if you haven't seen that one, you should definitely keep watching. This is one of my favorite designs of the Second World War, and it's got a lot of history to it. Romania is very kind of underrated as far as their historical significance, and I kind of want to change that over time. So with that, we've got this example. So the brief history of this helmet is that it was a direct copy of the Dutch model 1934 steel helmet, which is exactly the same shape, same color, same liner, same everything. The only thing that was different on earlier examples was the crest on the front, which this lacks. So this was probably made after 1941, or the crest was removed by the soldier, but it doesn't look like that. Very well could have been, but I doubt it on this particular example. Anyway, so after King Carol, there was a coup that kind of removed him from power, and people stopped wearing the crest, even though they were still fighting for the Axis powers on the Eastern Front. After the Battle of Stalingrad, when the Romanian military lost about 80% of its manpower in one battle, they kind of started going back home, and they weren't really as active on the Eastern Front. However, they were still wearing these helmets, and you can see plenty of pictures, photographs of the early Operation Barbarossa. And later, when they actually flipped sides and were fighting for the Soviets at the very end of the war, they were still wearing this M39 helmet. Now, that's just the brief overview of it. This helmet was actually worn by Romanian forces all the way up and through the early 1990s. Most of these were actually melted down and recycled and either made into other things, or more specifically the model 1973 helmet, which is loosely based off of this. It's actually more of a copy of the model 1938 KNIL, which I also did a video on, because it lacks the rear skirt. But this one, it's a unique design. It's probably one of the most unique steel helmet designs of the 20th century, just because it just is so weird and it wasn't used by a lot of countries. So the Dutch used these, obviously, and so the Romanians. The Romanians made it really famous because the Dutch military really didn't last long against the German occupiers. And so therefore there's not a lot of photographs of those. A lot of these were captured and used by the Germans and rear echelon forces. But, however, the Romanians, who were fighting for the Germans, were left alone, so that's why you see a ton of pictures of them wearing these. Now, to differentiate this from a Cold War updated one or a Cold War example, because these were actually made into the late 40s and early 50s, I believe, is the paint itself. So on my other one, I painted that to match the original color. This is the original color. It's kind of that Eastern Bloc lighter green. Here, let me see if I can get it closer up. Example. It's not really olive drab. It's more of olive green with a tinge. It's more of kind of the Soviet color, which is kind of ironic that they were fighting them. Hungarian helmets were also painted this color. I guess Eastern Europe has a different color scheme than the rest of Europe. But it's weird because the Dutch M34s were actually painted this color as well. So that's one way you can tell, is just by the original paint. This has not been messed with. This is the original paint job. Obviously, it's been around for quite a few years, so it's got a lot of storage wear. But it's a really solid example of a World War II paint job. So then the liner is where you're going to see the second difference, and the chin strap, which is included in the liner. So this one, on the other one, you could tell it was like lighter colored suede leather. This is going to be the oil-covered kind of hexagonal thatching pattern leather pads with a leather band, just like the later one, but it's a thicker leather band. You've got the little nape pad strap, which carried over into the 1973 helmet. Actually very comfortable when you're wearing it. It's to prevent, your neck from rubbing up against the steel. Very comfortable. And the chin strap itself is extremely thick. So if you can see that, it's a little bit thicker than a German helmet chin strap. And you've got this very simple, I'm going to untangle this, very simple friction slide buckle right here. And that's how you can tell, again, that's a World War II chin strap. It's going to be really thick. It's going to be wider than the other one that I have. And also there's going to be wool behind here. And that's just basically what the World War II liners look like. These are extremely hard to find in the original condition because a lot of them were updated and or melted, and they were just gone. So earlier ones were actually made in the Netherlands for the Romanians, and then they eventually, kind of like the Bulgarian helmets, they shipped over machinery, so they were actually locally produced in Romania. So yeah, it's a really cool helmet design. I think it's one of the most unique. You can definitely tell if it's a Romanian soldier on the Eastern Front versus like a Hungarian or Bulgarian soldier, just by the shape of the helmet. As far as ballistic protection, I actually have not tested one of these, nor do I really want to, because even in Romania, these are hard to get because of the aforementioned reasons. A lot of these were melted down and just destroyed over time, or they were used until, whatever, they were rusted out and, thrown into a scrap pile. So even in Romania, like, this was a gift from a Romanian friend of mine a few years ago. He actually found an original one, this original one, and sent it to me, and it really meant a lot because I had been looking for an all original one. I don't wear this for reenacting. It's not worth it. I'm not going to ruin the original example. I do wish it had the crest, but you know what? You can't really win them all, and the ones with the crests are even harder to find, and they command a huge premium. And I got this for free, so I really cannot complain about that. So I'm really happy with this, and it's a really weird design, but when I tested the Romanian M73, which has essentially the same front slope, it performed pretty well at deflecting direct hits from pistol rounds. So I would assume this would do the same. The steel seems to be pretty thick and robust. This also differs from the M73 because it's got the rolled rim, as most helmets of that time did. It's just to kind of, so you don't cut your hand, and it's not sharp, and it's a little bit more smooth, and it actually looks pretty classy. It's, you've got the nice rolled rim that's, got that little bevel, you can see on the side, it makes the shape itself look a little bit more smooth and kind of defined. But yeah, it's a really neat example. So this big skirt on the rear of the head was just to provide from like debris and stuff falling down, because the back of your neck, you sever your spinal cord, you're done. And the Romanians and Dutch realized that, and that's probably why the Romanians went with this design. I actually don't know the real reason they went with it. Maybe they were just like the hipsters of Europe at that point and wanted to get the most unique looking helmet, but I really like it a lot. And again, I do World War II Romanian reenacting. I haven't done it in a couple years because life has gotten really crazy. But yeah, the one I choose for reenacting, I just copied the original color, and it is a little bit different, but I don't feel as bad wearing it because the liner and stuff was updated in probably the 1960s. So yeah, these were worn along with the SSH-40 by the Romanian military, the RSR and subsequent regimes, up until, again, like the late 80s and stuff, early 90s probably, because Romania is very well known for using stuff until it's just destroyed because of funding and supplies and all that stuff. They kind of peaked economically in the 60s and early 70s and then have been suffering ever since. So that's probably why you're not going to find a lot of these, because they recycle stuff, they reuse stuff until it's just driven into the ground, destroyed, which is pretty cool. It's minimal waste. But anyway, yeah, if you can find one of these, they're probably going to be over $100 for even one just in this configuration. And not a lot of people really understand or collect Romanian stuff, which is very odd to me. They were definitely a huge presence on the Eastern Front. They were blamed for a lot of the Germans' mistakes, which I will probably be making historical videos on because it's a pretty near and dear subject to me. And I do have friends in Romania who are really good at this history, and they had family members involved, etc., etc. So that's a pretty interesting subject. It's of all the Eastern Bloc countries, it's probably my favorite historically. It's very, very cool. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I know this is a redo of a video I already did, but I figured I'd show you an actual World War II example. I could, I suppose, dig my other one out and do a direct comparison video, but yeah, the sky's the limit when it comes to videos. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. If you would consider supporting my work on Patreon, the link is in the description. It helps me fund stuff. Again, this was a gift. I got really lucky, but I like to do other reviews on gear and equipment, and just like to have props when I'm talking about historical videos, and I can't afford to be putting any more money into my channel per se, as I have some debt to pay off. So viewer support is what's driving the channel at this point in time, and probably will be from here on out. So if you consider becoming a patron, it's just $1 a month. If you do $5 a month or more, you get Discord access. So if you're on Discord, I'm usually on there at all hours of the day checking it. So that's a perk. But anyway, if not, I get it. I appreciate you watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you got any questions, I'll try to answer it, or have my esteemed colleague Devin K jump in, lurking in the comments, and answer some questions about that as well. I think this is something that he isn't like too familiar on, so I'm probably more familiar with this than he is, which is why we're working well together. Because I know things he doesn't, and he knows things that I don't. So anyway, I appreciate you watching, guys. Let me know what you think. One of my favorite helmets in the collection, and we'll see you on the next video in the series, Helmets of the World.